In the year 1894, the British waged war on Nana of Ichekiri. He is fondly called Nana of Ichekiri, not Nana of Warri. I have a reason for that. Think about it. And he was the ruler of the Shekiris at that time. They bombed his village, Ebrohimi. The British record stated that he had over 5,000 slaves in Ebrohimi when the place was bombarded. He was captured and exiled to Gold Coast. The British crushed his empire. So, what should happen to the slaves that he had? Remember, slavery has to do with the original person that was bought. Most of the slaves, man inherited them from his own father. Those ones were all dead. They were buried like slaves. Maybe some of them thrown in the river and the rest. These are now the children and the grandchildren of the slaves. They don't have anywhere to go to. You see, there is now a new catastrophe. Just like when slavery was ended, was abolished by the British, very many of the descendants of the slaves in England did not know where to go to again. They don't have their original home. So the British had to create Sierra Leone for them. And now what happened? They called the place they settled them what? Free Town. For those of you who don't know the history of Sierra Leone, Free Town. In commemoration that this is the place, many of them did not know where they come from again. The same thing when America abolished slavery, many of the blacks said they want to go back to Africa. And so they had to create a place for them, Liberia. Liberia means freedom. And they put the slave there. Something happened. The slaves that came from Europe and America to Sierra Leone and Liberia, the environment they came from, they had more knowledge of science and technology. So they came now and they started colonizing the aboriginal people they met. They don't meet an empty land. And the conflict between the children of the descendant slaves and the aboriginals was what led to the Liberian Civil War and the Sierra Leonean Civil War. Those are some of the things we are facing today. When they bombarded Ebrohimi, the slaves had nowhere to go to. The man who led Nana's slave to Sapele was Ogugbene. He himself said he was a Yoruba man. And he himself said it was his father that Nana inherited him from Olomu. So such a person will not have a place to go to today. And that is the reason why the Shekiris will bury their dead in Sapele, because they don't know where they came from. But instead of them to be humble and accept this fact, that is the reason, and try to fight for the right of customary tenancy, they are not trying to fight the people who hosted them. This is what the government is supposed to know. Educate them of their rights. You are descendant of slaves. You don't know where to go to again. Sapele is the only home you have. So, try as much as possible to assimilate with your host. Be humble, not to be proud with them. If you take the story of, I will read the record of proceedings. What Ogugbene, the head slave, said. He said he's a Yoruba man. And it was Ofotoku that received him. Why did they run to Sapele? It shows that previously they had good relationship. The Yoruba man, always. Most of the Shekiris in our river bank, in Ogara, in Otefe, all the rest, they were descendants of slaves. Ajabodudu was a descendant of slaves. That one is written by William Moore by himself. It was Anoluruku to Oluwakembuwa, who was inherited by Omateye, the crown prince. So for Ajabodudu people to be making trouble with Ogarawa land is pitiful. Say Jackson line is the land that separated us. Separate one from slave, from freeborn. First of all, accept who you are. Even in their statement of defense, in the Ajabodudu, say the children of Ajobodudu agreed that they were slaves, descendants of Ugbodu. I will read it. And that is why I said, when you read ancient documents, you see the truth. Now, when they fled, some of them settled in Ogara from Ebrohimi. Some of them went to Olobo in the Benin River. Some of them went to Sapele, while some others went to Amuokpe. Now, here is the story of one that went to Amuokpe. It was a case between Osagiere and others for themselves on behalf of the Amuokpe community and Sittim Sagay on behalf of the Sagay family. With all due respect, the Sagays are one of the most respected family in Nigeria today. Professor Chief Asagba is a professor of law, very cerebral. We have had some Sagays who are medical doctors, who are engineers, who have all done all their feats. The story here said they originally came from Ora, Sabogida Ora in Edo State, and they entered into the service of Nana, where he became an Oloruku, a head slave. After the war, he ran to Amuokpe. That is the story, he said it in court. And he has maintained that story. And today, the Sagays have been assimilated into Amuokpe. There's no trouble. The only period where he said was during the change of title from the Olu of Wari, Olu of Isheki to Olu of Wari in 1952. He said Amuokpe people came and burned down the village and they don't want to see them. And many of them now fled to Sapele. He wrote it here. That's how many of them migrated to Sapele to join the other people in Sapele, where most of them have large population. He said that other people now stayed behind in the village. But the ones that stayed behind in the village have since it are married. Till today, the place is called Sagay. Some of them are not even Okpes. It would have been easier for them to assimilate into Okpe than this one they are trying to maintain in Shekiri. They are not even Shekiri people. You are not the Shekiri people. If the many Shekiri people have accepted the people would have been in Uborodo, in Omadino, Ureju, and the Shekiri. The Shekiri people themselves don't even accept you. They call you Eru, descendant of slave. They even discriminate against you more than the Urobos that are hosting you people. So that's the reason why most of you, that's why I told somebody, I said, we can't do without them. Where do you expect them to bury their dead? These are descendants of slaves that don't know where they came from. Their origin is from Nana. If Ebrohimi were, they would have been buried in Ebrohimi. They no longer know their ancestral home where they came from. Urobos too were part of the crime. Urobos were selling their witches and wizards and their criminals to the Shekiris. And that is why if an Shekiri person died today, they will first of all define whether it's a witch or a wizard before they bury the body. Because they know very well that they bought a witch from Urobo land. You understand? Somebody said, in Urobo land, if you want to curse somebody, you will say Orwe. Osagiere. He said, but if you want to cause somebody to pay him, you call him you. So, let's go to the story of Sittim Sagay, the statement of claim. The plaintiffs are Urobos of Amuokpe. This is what 1953. Okpe is not Urobo people. Who are the plaintiffs here? Umujaine was the third in command to Esezi the second, the Oroje of Okpe. The second in command was Chief Asagba in 1956. You understand? This is their statement of claim. From beginning, Okpe knew themselves. They said they are not Urobos. It was the British that forced them. Academic school. Now, Sapele people, the Shekiri are giving you hit. They are very amount. Not one word. And they said they are Okpe Union. Because their factional president is an Shekiri man. Or Majuwa. Trying to cause confusion everywhere. I will tell you the story of the Sapele too, who they put into Okpe Union during the Sapele case. He came and said Okpe is not Urobo. He started it. Then the man should do that. They will fund the case. On the night of the morning, now bring morning now, he ran away. And that time I always spoiled Urobo people's mind. Before I went out to go and beg Mukoromo. Mukoromo now came and released 500 pounds, and he denied the student of a scholarship that year. That dip into the scholarship fund. That was how they rescued the case. You see, it's the Shekiri and the same. Before the Shekiri do such that, they will first of all send people to scatter the mind of open people. You are not to you are open alone. Then after that, they will start hitting them. Now, the plaintiffs are Urobos of Amuokpe and bring this action on behalf of themselves and the Amuokpe community. The defendant and his father before him hail from Ora in the Benin district. The plaintiff land is known as Amuokpe communal land, and no individual ownership of the land is acknowledged or known to exist. The land in dispute, which is as pink in the plan filed in this statement of claim, is part of the plaintiff communal land. The plaintiff and their ancestors before them have owned the entire communal land of Amuokpe from time immemorial, and have without let or hindrance cultivated various portions of the land and rented them to people for farming and other purposes. The defendant's father, called and known as Osagiere, later corrupted to Sagay, first came to dwell with the plaintiff's ancestors on or before 1894 during the Benin River expedition as a refugee. On the defendant's father's arrival, he was the guest of Chief Asagba of Amuokpe, who later introduced him to the then elders of the family with a view to giving him a place to build a hut. Subsequently, the defendant's father was given a plot around the area colored yellow in the plan to build and live therein. The defendant's father built thereon and intermingled with the plaintiffs in the ordinary domestic life of the community. He was not asked to pay any rent or tribute. Very friendly people. Good. This is, if not Shekiri for them to collect tribute from her. Just imagine in Okere, people who founded their land, Okere Shekiri said this man could pay them tribute. Here they didn't collect tribute. Sometime in 1952, the plaintiff observed that an alien firm of Messrs. Mandilas and Caraberis Sapele are operating on the portion of land colored pink on the plan. He leaves it to Mandilas without consulting the people who gave it to him. And upon inquiry, discovered that the defendant had given away the same portion of land colored pink to the said alien firm who lives. The plaintiff then called the defendant's attention to this adverse act of ownership, but the defendant turned around to assert his right to the ownership of the said portion of land. Whereon the plaintiff called for declaration of title to the land, piece of land colored pink, and an injunction as per it, dated as Sapele this day, 31st day of October 1953. So let us hear the statement of defense. Statement of defense. The defendant, but the Sagay replying, Amuokpe people. The defendant at the hearing shall ask leave of court to amend the writ of summons so as to show that the defendant is in fact and really sued in a representative capacity to read for himself and on behalf of Sagay family. The defendant does not omit paragraph 1, 3, 4, and 5 of the statement of claim. Now, look at the story. As regards paragraph 1 of the statement of claim, the defendant states that his ancestor Sagay was partly Shekiri and partly Benin in origin. The defendant's ancestor Sagay lived at Ebrohimi. He didn't lie. And during his trading expedition down the Ethiopian River, came to know one Asagba, a powerful open man. You people were saying that the Asagbas were slaves to Nana and that Sagay was their master. Look at Sagay saying now. Say Asagba was a powerful open man. And they became friends. So you see how you lie up and down. That Ojegba and that Amuokpe used to be a slave camp of Nana, and that Sagay was their head. Fabricating another story. True. Now, sometime later, the same Okpes became hostile to their competitor Asagba, who had to flee for his life to Ebrohimi to seek protection at the hands of Chief Nana, but the latter gave Asagba a hostile reception, and Sagay had to plead for him and secure sanctuary for him at Ebrohimi and later at Osagiere. Later, Asagba returned home when conditions were peaceful and founded his village at Amuokpe and later became the most powerful man of his days. He said there was a time there was a quarrel between Nana and Asagba. Asagba now went to Ebrohimi and that being friends to Sagay, Sagay now received him. So you know that was the reason he too now fled to Asagba when they dropped him. Now, good. After the Benin River expedition, know your history, there ensued a migration of the Shekiris, and Sagay came to his friend Asagba, appealed through him to the Ugbe people for land, and Asagba caused the Ugbe people in gratitude for Sagay's help in the past to make a full, complete, and unconditional gift of the land as yellow in the federal plan to Sagay and his descendants for their use without interruption and without payment of rent or customary tribute to the plaintiff or to anyone at all. The said land is called Sagay family land, Sagay, in the defendant plan. Sagay and his grown-up children and families occupied the land since about 60 or more years ago. The defendant have at all material time, so he agreed that it was Asagba that gave him land, and he has been there for more than 60 years. The defendant have at all material time been in peaceful possession of the said Sagay without any hindrance or interference from the plaintiff or his people. And the defendants have peaceably cultivated the land and planted citrus, rubber plantation thereon, and built and built churches and schools thereon, exercising full right of ownership up to the river Ethiopia, and the defendant even exact tribute or tax from plenty people whenever they wrote oil tax through Sagay to the Ethiopia river to flow them down to Sapele, that he himself they collect tribute from people when they are flowing their thing beyond the river. In other words, they even allowed him. The defendant denied that the land acquired by his ancestor by gift is the only portion of SGL in plaintiff plan, and further state that is included in land in this book SP in plaintiff plan. So the defendant will contend that as they are not in possession of their land by customary tenure but by an act of a conditional gift, you understand? He said they dashed them to him. It's not customary tenancy because they were not paying tribute. You understand? Good. But they didn't deny like people of Sapele are doing today. You understand? That the defendant is entitled to any portion of the said land, others for their use or occupation. And defendant stated that in exercise of this right, defendant led the portion edge pink in plaintiff land to Messrs. Mandilas, Carabaris for logging operation. Further, the defendant said that the defendant people were aware of the selection and acquires it the same, and it was only after the Shekiri Urubu riots of 1952, you see how you are causing problem. That because of some of the plaintiff people were convicted for an attack. That's why I said some Urubus who rioted were arrested and sent to prison because of that riot. I got their list from National Archive. That will not cause bad blood. People should not break things that will cause problem. Because you two there the losing end. On defendant village, Urubu now went to Osagiere village in Amuokpe. That plaintiff brought this action vexatiously and without any bona fide right. That's why this thing you are doing now from Sapele, it may spread. Already the people of Mosoga said you cannot go past Mosoga to come and visit to do your Agofe. The same people will do the same thing. By the time Agbon and the begin to do the same thing, you will understand what is happening. So I'm going to go to the line of peace. If it is declared that the robots should not have a security, we don't say your community. But we say don't stay in our community. We are trying to bridge peace together. We are trying to bring problem. This will happen in 1952. This was one of the least things that happened. I don't want to mention some Urubu clan. They evicted full people. Full people. Those people became lost. Those land became lost forever. They didn't allow them to return. The defendant will contend that the plaintiff claim is speculative vexatious. So you know what you're saying is this. I agree. I was a refugee. They gave me land. Their father gave it us as a gift, as a free gift. And I did not use beyond what their father gave to me. He's fighting for his rights. I will stop here now. I will not continue. There are very many people that testify, but I will just take the testimony of two of them. Nana Asagba, the head of the Asagba family, and Sittim Sagay, head of the Sagay family, so that you hear what they say. Thank you very much. Let's do the next video.